within the first few seconds after a puppy is born, the checklist I go through in my mind and or document, these are what is just our protocol to make sure everything looks normal and healthy right after a puppy is born. So the first thing we do is make sure they're crying and they have clear lungs. So we want to make sure we have an airway, right? You can get those the suction bulbs that you can use for infants, and use those to help suction out any fluid if they did get fluid in their mouth. It's usually yellow and it can come out their nose. I will take them and tip them head down and just pat them on their back, and then I'll suction and I'll keep patting and I'll suction. And I mean, 95% of the time that does the trick. It's just the fluid is just kind of really in the throat and the mouth and in the nose, and good thing it doesn't go into the lungs. I mean, that's ideal, right? Then make sure they're not bleeding. Sometimes this one takes precedence. You're doing both at the same time. I've been pinching a cord and patting with their head down, trying to get fluid out, and suctioning while still trying to pinch the cord. And then as soon as I can, I'll tie it off. People use dental floss or yarn. I like yarn just because my hands just aren't as nimble as they once were when I was younger. And the dental floss is hard for me to tie. So I just use white yarn and I'll tie it off to stop the bleeding. The third thing I check right away is I rub my finger on the roof of their mouth and make sure they do not have cleft palate. We want to make sure there's no opening in the roof of their mouth. This will hinder their ability to nurse and could potentially hinder their prognosis of surviving. So cleft palate puppies have lived. Depending on the severity, depends on your options and how much you have to step in. But you know, I always say, sometimes you have to make that decision of quality of life versus heroic efforts. And I do have a video about that you can watch. So I just want to make sure there's no cleft palate. I'll also take my finger and rub it across their whole body, down each leg. Make sure everything feels like it's formed correctly down the tail. We've had kinks in tails. I've had puppies with lymphedema, which their legs were swollen, and so I caught that right away. So I just rub my fingers down everything on their ears, looking and making sure, look at their face. I haven't had it yet, but there's been puppies that their eyes were born open. They should be sealed shut. Their ear flaps should be sealed shut. Run your hands down every part of their body and look at everything and make sure everything feels and looks normal. Then we identify the gender and we mark our puppies with the color. So we weigh, identify, and mark with the color. So for, if it's our firstborn female is always pink. So that's pink color female. We have a chart. It's in my Badass Breeders Guide, or you can document on the software. Every part of their journey with you can be documented on our software, and then reports can be printed out and given to your clients. Plus, it's really great data for us as well and for our programs. You can do a free 30-day trial at badassbreeder.com. You can pick up the guide, and the worksheets are in there too, the handouts. So you can document each puppy, time of birth, gender. I have a note section just in, all clear. My first initial check was good. Everything looked good. And then I will also, when I'm checking for cleft palate, I love to see a puppy that has a suckle response already, like they're already trying to suck on my finger. I'm like, that's such a good sign for me. Like my heart just has a little extra pitter patter right there. Like, this is good. A nice plump puppy, get them warm, get them dry, get them cleaned up. And I want them nursing. If they did have a difficult delivery, and they were slower to breathe, and they were cold, and they're not as big, that I tend to see a lot of those, very, very common. My goal, I still don't get worried until we hit 2 hours after birth if they're not nursing. So that's where I start to get nervous. I give them 2 hours. If I start the clock, if you're not nursing in 2 hours, then I need to look at things further, maybe try bottle feeding, or we may have to tube feed, or there may just be something more wrong. And make sure they're warm. That's the most important thing. They cannot regulate their temperature, and cold puppies can't nurse. So I make sure they're warm, keep clearing out their lungs and keep patting them. I make them mad because I want them to cry. So I'll really kind of rub on them like mama's licking them. I want those lungs nice and open. Get everything out. Get the big cry out. Get on the boob and start eating. That's what we want ideally, right? What do you do when a client comes back for a second puppy and they say, we want one that scored the same way in the evaluation? I just had a client do this. It was 11 years ago. You guys, I wasn't even doing the empowered badass breeder evaluations. I was doing bull hard evaluations, and I didn't keep them. So here's just my reminder to you. In the greatest, grandest world, you'll be doing what you love for a long time, and you'll have repeats and try repeats, and they'll come back for their third, their fourth, and some will come back and say, we want one totally different. So here's what I have done. And I'm not promoting a platform specifically, YouTube. I know there's other video platforms you can use, but I like to upload every puppy evaluation, the video of each puppy. And I personally just name it like the mom's name, Monroe, and then the puppy color label, Blue. Or if you have it named however you want. And I keep those videos unlisted, which means unless you have a direct link to it, you can't watch it. It doesn't show up on my YouTube page, okay? Then in my Empowered Badass Breeder software, it's the only software, where you can get a compatibility matching report from the evaluation. So you just plug in how they scored, what they did during their evaluation, and it will, I wrote an algorithm that will give you percentages, like this puppy would 70% chance, a good home, thrive in a home with young children, or retired active, retired not active, possible therapy dog with a novice owner, a non-novice owner. So it gives you percentages. It's not the end all be all, like I tell my clients. It's just one more thing to help you guide your puppy placement. So every client gets to see every video of the entire litter doing the same evaluation, one that I devised years of tweaking and changing. And I do teach that on badassbreeder.com. You click on webinars, and then you can click on evaluations. I've done them live in seminars. There's a little bit in the Badass Breeder Guide explaining it, but you definitely need to see it to really understand. But then what I do in my software, because now I have the compatibility report and I can print it. I could keep it in a binder, but I don't. The whole point is trying to not have binders and notebooks and everything. I want everything in one place. I wanted everything in my software. So I take the YouTube link just to save time potentially in the future, right? And under notes for that puppy, because every dog and every puppy has a spot that just is notes that you can add anything you want. So I'll add the link to the YouTube video. So if I had my software 11 years ago, when this client emailed and said we want one just like our previous dog, I could go look him up. I could read the compatibility matching report and see exactly how he scored, watch the video, and then help her target the same type of puppy. I wish I would have been more organized. So there's my advice for you today. Keep your evaluations. It's also really, really helpful down the road when someone contacts you and they say, we're seeing extreme fear, or we're seeing what they feel is aggression, or they're seeing resource guarding. I like to go back to the evaluation video and take an honest look. Did I miss something? Do I see it there? Could I have done a better job evaluating? I look at the parents. Are we seeing those same kind of things with other litter mates? So being able to document so meticulously in my software is life-changing for me. I can track lines, I can track temperament, I can track my clients, the evaluations, everything about them through their newborn, anything about the mom specifically, mastitis, didn't produce great milk, long labors, stillborn, you document everything. So I love to go through it even before, like a second time mom, and read everything about the labor delivery notes and how she weaned. Super helpful. And you can access it anywhere there's Wi-Fi. I can get it on my phone. I can pull it up anywhere I am, on an iPad, a laptop, or a desktop, iPhone or Android. It doesn't matter. It's web-based. 30-day free trial. Go check it out. Again, at badassbreeder.com. Here's your reminder today. We get so trapped in this world of connecting through text, through email, and just not being present even though you're there. And I'm only speaking because I've lived this life. Like, the last 14 years running my business, I've been home, I've been around my kids, but I wasn't very present. And it's something that I've had to really reflect on, and I'm working really hard on, and it's something really hard to break. because I'm always thinking of what's coming next, what's to do next, what, and having all of these responsibilities in many different ways, from dogs to litters to clients and go home days, and all these things just keep moving, and they move really fast. And in this lifestyle, we can't put pause on anything. We can't put pause on a due date. We can't put pause on tube feeding. We can't put pause on mastitis or vets or, vet runs or go home days or emergencies, right? So we're running, I was anyway, just constantly running in this life, and almost in a way running away from myself in many ways. I'm just going to be honest. I think many of you have seen I've taken a huge step back in just speaking and being on camera and classes within the last 2 years, and that's been difficult but intentional in trying to really find purpose and meaning in life, and really trying to connect with people in a way that humans need, in a way that I need. And it's not all on social media, and it's not all on texting or email or anything like that. It's really trying to connect with my kids again, connect with my family again, connect with myself again. And I'm not gonna lie, it's been difficult. It's been really difficult trying to figure out, where do I fall in that? Like, who have I become? Who am I? And it gets bad when you sit in silence and first of all, it drives me crazy. I've been working on that, and just wondering and thinking, well, what does Jeanette want to do? What does Jeanette like? Like, if I had nothing to do right now, what would I be doing? And that has been painful. And I just felt like, I really feel I see you guys hustling. I see me in many of you, and this is my reminder to make sure you do still intentionally live in the moment. Take those times whenever you can push pause on things, and really put your phone down, put your computer away, put all that away, and engage and be present for those loved ones, friends, and family around you. Otherwise, it can be really isolating and lonely, even though you're surrounded by so much, which was so difficult for me to really process. Like, I got a million things going on, and I'm talking to a million people a day, but still felt this loneliness. And anyway, this is me being vulnerable today to you. And if I can just help one of you, or this is a reminder just one of you needs today, to make sure you're taking that time to truly connect and be present, especially in society today, that is my reminder. Thank you all for all your support and love, I guess. Love and support through the last many years. I was looking back at 2019 and everything I did in 2019, from writing my first book, starting to develop my software, took off on mentoring, started my kind of changed and started my new nonprofit, traveled, spoke several times. I couldn't believe it. I was literally like just scrolling through 2019, and I'm like, I was nonstop. Oh, and went on Good Morning America twice in 1 year to New York. And had hundreds of puppies and go home days. And I just, I was very proud of what I did, but there was also this sadness of wondering who that person was, or how does that translate to me today, and in finding a calmer, peaceful life where I can find joy in the quieter, calmer moments. And that is something I'm truly working on. Thank you for riding shotgun with me today.